Um, I'm just trying to decide if I'm comfortable even talking about that.
This one's wife, an unkind woman. One of the major difficulties that this one's wife has is that her narcissism has propelled her to pursue the prime aims of fuel, control, character traits, and residual benefits. And she's laid her hands on many of those aspects. But in achieving that, her narcissism has not been able to keep hidden her unpleasantness. Owing to the fact that she propelled, as a consequence of marriage to Harry, onto the world stage, with all of the attendant benefits that came with that, there was another which has posed a huge problem to her: scrutiny. There are more evolved narcissists who are similarly famous as she is, but they're not subjected to the same level of scrutiny because they don't behave in the way that she does. And their narcissism is far more effective at evolving the less pleasant side of those individuals so that it never comes to the light of day. This one's wife operates in a rather basic manner. As a mid-range narcissist, her narcissism doesn't have the abilities of more evolved narcissists to charm, to manipulate in a very subtle fashion, to pull the wool over so many people's eyes, to be universally admired, enabling her to have a free pass with regard to the more nefarious manipulations, as certain narcissists have been able to achieve. Instead, her crassness, her lack of class, her grasping behaviours have all been showcased. The way that she shoves in front of people, the way that she involves herself in things that have nothing to do with her, the way that she pushes in front of Harry, the way that she orders Harry about, patting him on the back like a dog and leading him by the hand with the grip of doom. All of these things and many, many other things have become apparent and obvious. This has meant that many people see her as an unpleasant individual, and more have become accepting of the fact, as I identified all those years ago, that she is a narcissist. People have got on board with that concept, not only as a consequence of the raft of evidence that exists to support that, but also understanding what that actually means vis-a-vis her conduct, behaviour and outlook. Repeatedly, there are media outlets that will highlight her unpleasantness, which keeps it at the forefront of the public's mind that she isn't actually a nice person, despite the attempts of her facade management to tell everybody that she is a lovely, kind, empathic individual. Her behaviours show to the contrary. Geo News, with the enigmatically named Web Desk, tells us this one's wife, an unkind woman unable to forego slights. Prince Harry and this one's wife has just been put on blast for lacking basic kindness to her own family despite preaching forgiveness to the world. Pausing there, that is demonstrative of the absence of emotional empathy, the hypocrisy generated by her facade management. GB News host Ben Leo has issued these sentiments about the Duchess of Sussex. He weighed in on everything by accusing this one's wife of being two-faced, which is correct, and said, this one's wife preaches compassion, humanity, being a good person, yet she's treated her father badly. Naturally, this one's wife preaches all of those things because her brand of narcissism is such that she wants to be seen as this kind, empathic person. She wants the world to believe that she is compassionate, that she is humane, that she is, in essence, a good person. Because by portraying that image to the world, the narcissism expects the world to be controlled by it, to respond favourably to her by providing fuel, by accepting her as such an individual and thus not challenging her, thus nullifying threats to control, and therefore granting her many residual benefits also. However, her conduct tells us that she has no compassion. It's manufactured. That she isn't humane. It's manufactured. That she isn't a good person. It's manufactured. There are lots and lots of examples to contradict the image that she preaches. And of course, perhaps one of the most stark, as identified by Mr. Leo, is the way that she's treated her father. Her father posed two problems. One, he was a threat to control as a consequence of the potential for him to tell the truth about her behaviours. And secondly, he was no longer useful. When she was much younger, he served a purpose. He paid for her, gave her somewhere to live, looked out for her, particularly when Doria went missing for all of those years. He enabled her schooling to be paid for. He assisted her in getting acting jobs, and therefore he was easy to control because he doted on his daughter. He provided fuel as a non-intimate secondary source, possibly at some instances as a non-intimate partner primary source. There were character traits that were to be obtained and numerous residual benefits. However, because she has no sense of obligation towards her father, no sense of accountability towards maintaining the relationship, no emotional empathy for him, when he outlived his usefulness to her, it was very simple for her, because she has no concept of remorse or guilt, that she has no conscience, that she was able to jettison him, and she disengaged from him. She did so in order to nullify potential threats to control that he would present by telling the truth about her and generally being embarrassing because she now believed that she was in the rarefied atmosphere of having class and style. And furthermore, because she now joined the royal family, she had no longer any need of him. And that demonstrates the callousness of the narcissist of ditching her own father. Undoubtedly, she will have smeared him to Harry, potentially suggesting that something untoward has gone on between them, which Harry, dim-witted as he is and affected by his emotional thinking, has completely accepted without hearing Thomas Markle's side of the story. That he has accepted what his wife has had to say, that he doesn't find it strange that he hasn't met his father-in-law, and that his father-in-law has never met his own grandchildren, that Harry thinks that's acceptable. And although Harry can often be a bit of a bell end, he would at least recognise that someone should meet their grandchildren, and therefore for him not to allow it to happen points to him either being in fear of this one's wife, or more likely that he has swallowed the lies that she has said about her father, and he's gone along with it too. The article explains that with regard to her father, yes, he's made mistakes. He made a massive one with those paparazzi pictures. But if she was so compassionate and so forgiving and humanitarian, how amazing I am, she would have forgiven her father, buried the hatchet, and had some sort of relationship with him. He also added, you lead by example. You can't gallivant around the world building some fake brand on humanity when you treated your father that way, and the same goes for Harry and his family as well. They deserve each other, and they shouldn't come back to England. Now, those are just one host's observations, but they are accurate ones, and it demonstrates again the short-sighted compartmentalisation of this one's wife's narcissism, whereby she attempts to create a brand built on compassion and humanity, but she's anything but. But she doesn't see that hypocrisy because she's blinded to it by her narcissism. Once again, however, she is called out for those behaviours and is labelled as an unkind woman, which is entirely accurate. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.